In 2008, Manchester City were a mid-table English club. Decent stadium, decent fans, no trophies in decades. Then, in the space of 48 hours, everything changed. A sovereign wealth fund from Abu Dhabi paid £210 million for the club. And what followed wasn't just a football transformation. It was a masterclass in how to build a sports empire, legally, strategically, and at a scale nobody had ever attempted before. Today we're breaking down exactly how City Football Group works and why it's the most sophisticated sports business model on the planet. Most people think they understand Manchester City. They don't. Manchester City, the football club, is just one piece of a much larger structure. City Football Group, or CFG, is the parent company that owns Manchester City, but it also owns New York City FC in Major League Soccer, Melbourne City in Australia, Montevideo City, Torque in Uruguay, Mumbai City in India, Girona FC in Spain, and several more clubs across 4 continents. As of 2024, CFG owns or has stakes in 13 football clubs worldwide. No other organization in football history has built anything like this. The question is, why? Why does owning clubs in Uruguay or India make financial sense for an Abu Dhabi sovereign wealth fund? The answer lies in how CFG uses these clubs not just as football teams, but as infrastructure. Here's where the model gets interesting. CFG's global network functions as a talent pipeline. A young player identified in South America can be signed by Montevideo City Torque, CFG's Uruguayan club, at a fraction of the cost of signing him directly to Manchester City. He develops. He proves himself in a competitive league. CFG owns his registration. If he's good enough, he moves up the chain, to Melbourne, to New York, eventually to Manchester. The transfer fees stay within the CFG ecosystem. The development costs are shared across the network. And because CFG owns the player's registration throughout, they control the asset entirely. Compare this to a traditional club model where you identify a talent in South America, pay a transfer fee to a club you have no relationship with, and hope the player develops. CFG has essentially verticalized talent acquisition. They don't just buy players, they build a system that produces them. Now, let's talk about the numbers, because this is where CFG's model becomes truly extraordinary. Manchester City's revenue for the 2022-23 season was £715 million. That makes them one of the highest-earning football clubs in the world. But here's what most people miss. A significant portion of that revenue comes from commercial deals, sponsorships, naming rights, partnerships, and many of those commercial deals are with companies that have direct connections to Abu Dhabi. Etihad Airways, the airline of Abu Dhabi, pays for the stadium naming rights. Etihad is also the club's shirt sponsor. Various Abu Dhabi-linked entities hold other partnership agreements. UEFA investigated this structure extensively. They argued that some of these deals were not conducted at fair market value, that Abu Dhabi entities were overpaying for commercial rights as a way of injecting money into the club beyond what financial fair play rules permitted. Manchester City disputed every allegation. The legal battle, currently the largest in English football history, involves 115 charges brought by the Premier League. As of 2026, that case is still ongoing. Whatever the outcome, the commercial structure CFG built is undeniably sophisticated, and it changed how every ambitious club owner thinks about sports investment. Here's the uncomfortable truth for every other club in world football. CFG's model works because of timing and capital. Abu Dhabi's sovereign wealth fund, the Abu Dhabi United Group, had essentially unlimited capital in 2008. They didn't need City to be profitable immediately. They could absorb losses for years while building the infrastructure. Most club owners can't do that. Even Roman Abramovich at Chelsea, who spent heavily, never built a multi-club ownership structure at CFG's scale. The multi-club model also requires regulatory expertise across dozens of football jurisdictions, a global scouting network that functions as one unified system, data infrastructure to track players across 13 clubs simultaneously, legal structures that comply with UEFA and FIFA ownership rules, which prohibit the same entity from owning two clubs competing in the same UEFA competition. That last point is why CFG sold a minority stake in Girona before they qualified for the Champions League. They anticipated the regulatory problem and solved it before it became one. That level of strategic planning is what separates CFG from every other multi-club operation in the world. In 2019, Silver Lake, an American private equity firm, acquired a 10% stake in City Football Group. The valuation implied by that deal, approximately $4.8 billion. For context, that valued CFG higher than every other football club in the world at the time, except Real Madrid and Barcelona. And that valuation wasn't based on Manchester City alone. It was based on the entire network, the infrastructure, the talent pipeline, the data systems, the global brand. Silver Lake weren't buying a football club. They were buying a sports technology and media company that happened to own football clubs. That reframing, from football club to sports enterprise, is the single most important shift in how serious money now thinks about football investment. CFG didn't just change how Manchester City operates. They changed what football clubs can be. Manchester City were purchased for £210 million in 2008. City Football Group is now valued at nearly $5 billion. That return, built through a global network of clubs, a verticalized talent pipeline, and commercial relationships that push the boundaries of financial fair play, represents the most ambitious business experiment in the history of sport. Whether you admire the model or question its fairness, the financial architecture CFG built is unlike anything that existed before 2008, and it will define how the next generation of football club owners think about the game. In the next video, we'll break down why Saudi Arabia is spending billions on football and what they actually want in return, because it's not what most people think. Subscribe to Pitch and Profit. No highlights, no hot takes, just the money